What was that? Hearing people's concerns. Hearing people's concerns, maybe, okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm thinking about that too.
The reason we're having you do this is that you have a lot going on, okay, in the senior year, and sometimes we're going so fast that we don't kind of just stop to check in. And that's really important, especially as we go on with the college application process. There's going to feel times when maybe you're just feeling overwhelmed, and sometimes we just talk about that kind of helps us put things into perspective, or maybe like, oh yeah, I'm feeling like that too. So that just helps, and that's a good life skill to have, even when you're going into college. You know, you're even if you're the only one from Sweetwater, I mean, you're going to make new friends, and so it's really important to connect with other people, because that's going to help you get through challenging times, okay? And there will be times when this is going to get stressful because you're working on your personal statement, and maybe you feel stuck writing. And that's where the counselors are here to also help you through that, okay? So don't feel, if you're ever feeling stressed or overwhelmed, that's okay, but remember that it's good to reach out during those times. So just to kind of guide us a little bit towards the college applications, okay? For the UCs, you can now start working on your applications. You cannot submit until October 1st, and the same is going to happen with a lot of the private schools. So you have the websites, and I'll email this to you, of where you're going to apply for the CSUs, the UCs, okay? The private schools, which is kind of where we're pushing you to apply. Many of those will either have their own application or what's called the common application. So the common application is one application, and you use that to apply to multiple schools. Okay, so we'll have a separate session on just the common app because it has a lot of nuances and sections to it. But just make sure that you're keeping track of the deadlines, okay, that you're organizing your information. Whether you have an Excel spreadsheet where it says the name of the school, did you send your SAT and ACT scores? Did you do the essay? When is the deadline to apply? Because you may be applying to schools where one deadline is December 15th, another deadline is January 1st, and you don't want to miss a deadline to a school that you're really hoping to apply to. You have the fees and the average GPA, which all of you have met that. I'm not worried about that here. And then the private schools, like USD, their deadline is December 15th, but that might have been last year's. But it's really important that if you qualify for free lunch, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will get a fee waiver for the CSU or the UC application. The fee waiver is embedded as part of the application. It's one of the last steps before you actually hit submit. So it depends on how many people are in your household and your parents' income. They do not tell us what those brackets are. So I do not know if a family of 4 who makes $50,000 will qualify for a fee waiver. We do not know. They do not release that information to us. So it's important to maybe now talk to your parents and say, hey, mom, dad, or whoever you live with, it might be good to kind of just start saving some money just in case. Okay, because it's really hard to ask a parent for $150 or $200 right off the bat. But if you give them some time between now and November, it certainly will help. Okay. For a lot of the private schools, if you qualify for a fee waiver for the SAT, we have fee waivers for through College Board where you can apply to, how many schools is it, Ms. Monty, the College Board? Four universities, okay? And sometimes for the private schools, we're also able to write a letter on your behalf, and sometimes we'll use that to waive it. So it just depends on the school. But it's really important that you pay attention to the deadlines, and we'll go into early decision and early action next. With the college application, it's important to not procrastinate, okay? Because we're pushing you to identify which schools you want to apply to, because it's important, because we don't want you doing that next month when you're supposed to be focused on your personal statement. Okay, so it's really important that if we're saying this is where you need to be, that you're getting that done and doing things at home, researching at home, or working on your personal statement once we get to that point, okay? So make sure you're also checking your email. A lot of the universities, especially second semester, will correspond with you via email at the beginning. After that, initially you apply, eventually they'll give you an ID number for their school and say, here's our portal, create an account. And then you have to check your portal, and that's where they'll communicate information with you. So if you missed the email that said create a portal, and then you didn't even create a portal and there's 5 messages that are saying, we need your transcript, we need this, we need that, and you're not checking, they're gonna assume you don't wanna go there, and if you miss those deadlines, there's no going back from them. Okay, so you wanna make sure, pick a day out of the week where it's your day to just check your emails and follow through with your universities. Pick a Monday or a Friday or a Thursday. That kind of helps to keep you organized and on top of all the information. Those of you who are applying to the private schools, there's this, some of you have already talked to us about this, but early decision and early action. So early decision means that if my dream school is Stanford University, binding means that if I get admitted there, I'm committing that I'm going to go to Stanford. It doesn't matter what other university accepts me, and it doesn't matter what my financial aid package may look like with Stanford. So if you're not 100% sure, I would say be cautious with early decision because of the financial aid piece. Early action means it's non-binding, meaning that if I tell University of Southern California and I apply early action, if I get admitted, I can still choose another university. If they have the options of early action, it's good to apply early because your chances, if you don't get admitted through early action, you'll still be able to get into the general pool. So you're kind of considered twice. So let me give you an example. Let's say the deadline for USC is November 30th, but the early action, their deadline is October 1st. If I apply through the October 1st deadline and they don't admit me, they'll consider me again, and I kind of have a little bit of a upper hand on those applicants that are applying for the November 30th deadline. Okay, so it's good to do early action because sometimes that does help you, kind of increases your chances of getting in. And it's nice to know if you do get admitted the first round that you're in that school and you don't have to wait until March. Okay. Most of the time the early action, they'll let you know if you're admitted this first semester. Okay, so we have your reach match. I'm going to return this back before we get working. I want you to have that as a complete list as possible by September 1st. Okay, so next week we're going to collect that. It doesn't mean that you can't add schools to that, but it means that you have to have at least 3 reach schools identified, at least 3 match, and at least 2 safety schools. Okay, and that gives you a good working list to start with. Okay, again, we're going to stress the unmet need. Ms. Duansing gave you that handout of selective schools that meet 100% of financial aid. So those schools are the ones that we're kind of pushing because we know that A, you're academically qualified, and B, that they give out good financial aid and they're great schools to attend. Okay. So I'm just going to highlight a few of these universities for you. Okay. So Boston College, obviously it's in Boston, right outside of the city. You can see the enrollment there. So a lot of these selective schools are not humongous schools. Their acceptance rate is 40%, but Boston College is kind of like our equivalent of a UC here. So it's a very well-known school. The retention rate, that means that if you start freshman year, you proceed and eventually graduate. So a school that has a high retention rate is a good sign. That means that they provide a lot of services for you. That means that there's somebody, probably an advisor, checking in with you. You're not just one person in a sea of people where it's easy to get lost at that university. Their classes are small. You can see their popular majors. They're really well known in business as well, so if you're interested in business. You can see their tuition, and then look at the average need. What does that mean? How do those 2 numbers compare? Most of your tuition is covered by scholarships and grants. Need-based scholarships. So that means based on your parents' income, and grants, which is money that the federal government will pay and you do not have to pay back. Notice loans is not even included yet. Okay, so that's really good. Brown University, it's one of the Ivy Leagues. We've had students go here, and most of the Ivy Leagues are similar to Brown in terms of the data. Great retention rate, small classes, and when I mean small, it's like the ratio of 1 to 10. For classes for your major, maybe 20 at the most, and that's probably big. You can kind of see their majors. I know a lot of you are interested in the medical field or computer science, and their need-based aid is pretty good. That's only 9,000 difference. And keep in mind, this is not scholarships that you are going to be applying to. So if you earn $9,000 in scholarships from SUHI Foundation and other organizations, you're pretty well off there. Okay. Caltech, this is in right outside of LA. It's a really small school, and it's for people who are into engineering, math, and the sciences. So that's Caltech, and it's kind of our local school. Because it's not too far, it's about a 2-hour drive. Georgetown, we've had students go to Georgetown. It's been a while. Or did we have one student go there last year, I think? Yeah, one student last year, and prior to that was like in 2008. But they have a good retention rate, really good in the social sciences, business, English, and foreign languages. Of course, if you're going into politics or anything related, this is a great place to be because you're in DC, opportunity for internships, and you can see their need base there. Northwestern, they're right outside of Chicago. There's downtown Chicago. You can kind of see it in the background. Really good for economics, psychology. If you're into the theater or drama, really good there too. Not as good with the need-based scholarships and grants, but again, that's an average, and scholarships and loans are not included. Occidental College, they're in LA. They're in LA. Their acceptance rate is 42%, so it's kind of a match school maybe for a lot of you. Really good in political science, psychology, and you can see their need base there. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, their acceptance rate is a 28.5, so it's a little bit more than some of the Ivy League or the other prestigious universities. They didn't have the need base because they only had it for in-state students who are from North Carolina, so I don't know what that number is, but they're known to give good financial aid. And then last is Rice University. It's a private school, so their enrollment is a little, imagine 1,300 more students here. That's kind of what Rice would be. And they're in Texas. Really good for engineering, biochemistry, biomedical, so the medical field. Okay? So I kind of gave you, just highlighted some schools to maybe consider. I will email this to you. And they're all over. I gave you some in the north, I gave you some in the East Coast, one in Texas, some in California. So you guys have a range. And this is just a snapshot of some of the schools that give really good base need. That some of them are the most selective, but some of them, their acceptance rates, their percentages were a little higher. Okay, so we should be seeing schools of this nature on your reach and match school. Not to mention, I need to put this up, but this is from Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. So this is a rep that we were talking to at our conference that we went to. When we said, oh, we're counselors from Sweetwater, their response was like, Sweetwater, we love students from Sweetwater. Tell your students to apply. They're well known and a prestigious school. Okay, so you can kind of see they have everything, just about everything in the medical field, pharmacology, and they're right in the heart of Boston, right, Ms. Alonso? So you're kind of right there smack in the middle of the city. Okay? So any questions before I let you work?
I'm going to follow up with those of you who we didn't get your handout from. I also sent you all an email about your major. There was like a form I needed you to fill out to tell me what your major was. Some of you haven't done that yet either. So I'm going to call some of you over so then I can kind of get that information from you guys.
So the desktops are there. We also have the laptops. We just need your ID. And then on